Thank you, Chairman. Agent Newell, when did you first become aware, know, anticipate, or maybe even suspect that these firearms in this program were being transported or transferred into Mexico?
Sir, I think we started getting the first traces, I want to say, I believe sometime in November of 2009, yes, sir.
So in November of 2009, you believe that they're being transferred or transported into Mexico. Did that cause you any concern?
Yes, sir. It always does.
But you say here, but the program continued on, knowing full well that these guns were going to Mexico. You said in your opening statement here, it is not the purpose of the investigation to permit the transportation of firearms into Mexico.
When we were lawfully able to seize firearms in this case, and the many, many firearms trafficking cases we conduct in Phoenix and Arizona and across the southwest border, we take every effort to stop that. Yes, sir.
But in a January, coming out of your office, in a January 2010, I mean, you testified today in your opening statement, it was not the purpose of the investigation to permit the transportation of firearms into Mexico. That's today.
Yes, sir.
Yet in January 8th, 2010, in this memo, point number 13, you write, or it is written, currently our strategy is to allow the transfer of firearms to continue to take place, albeit at a much slower pace in order to further the investigation, allow for the identification of additional co-conspirators who would continue to operate and illegally traffic firearms to Mexico drug trafficking organizations. So it was the goal, it was the intention of the program to allow guns to be trafficked to Mexico, based on this memo. Is that correct?
No, sir.
What's wrong with it? That's from your statement. It also says in here a number of different seizures in Mexico. It seems very inconsistent at best to suggest that it was not the purpose to allow them to go to Mexico, yet you know in 2009 that they're going to Mexico, and you put it in a memo in 2010, January 2010. How are those statements compatible?
Well, sir, if I may, and I'm glad I'm given the opportunity to clarify that paragraph that has been obviously well publicized. The wording in that, the way my understanding was when that briefing paper was drafted, was that our efforts to allow the transfer to identify additional co-conspirators was so that we could further the investigation, take out the whole organization. Otherwise, these individuals would in fact continue in a part of a larger.
So you allowed, is it hundreds or thousands of weapons to continue to flow through this program and go into Mexico?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, sir?
How many hundreds or thousands of weapons did you allow to be purchased knowing that they were going to Mexico?
Sir, the purchase was being done by a criminal organization, a large scale.
But you facilitated it. You allowed it, did you not? I mean, that was part of the program. Allow these straw purchases to happen so that the guns could end up in Mexico. And you know in 2009 that that's happening.
Sir, again, the goal of the organization, the goal of the investigation was to disrupt and dismantle the entire
I know, I understand the goal, but you were purposely, the problem is you're purposely, knowingly allowing the guns to go to Mexico. And you have information in 2009 that it's being successful, yet you never put a stop to it. It's meeting the goals and intentions you laid out in this memo in January of 2010. And it continued on. And consequently, there were thousands of weapons that ended up in Mexico killing people. Killing people. That's the reason that we're here today. When did you first know or think that guns were walking?
Sir, in this investigation, as best of my knowledge, we didn't let guns walk for that perspective.
When did you first think that they were?
Were what, walking?
Walking, yes.
Sir, again, the policy.
Have you ever thought that they were walking?
Sir, the policy regarding transfer of firearms regards the fact that we're trying to develop an investigation.
I know what you're trying. When did you first think that guns were walking?
Sir, again, the goal of the investigation.
When did you first think that guns were walking? Did you ever think that? Do you think that here today?
I truly believe, as I've said before, that we didn't intentionally let guns walk.
Let's go to slide 2, if we could, please. This is an email from Mr. Newell to Mr. McMahon on December 21st, 2010, 6 days after Brian Terry was killed. Quote, since I don't like the perception that we allowed guns to walk, I had David Voth pull the numbers of the guns recovered in Mexico, as well as those we had a direct role in taking off here in the U.S. So you telling me you didn't suspect that the guns were walking?
As my email says, it's about the perception. I didn't want people to think there was a perception, because in my mind that was not the case.
How were guns not walking?
So knowing and proving that the transfer or purchase of firearms is illegal are two different things.
I'm asking, look, this is 1 month before the indictments and 2 months before John Dodson went on CBS News with the accusations that the case was still an active investigation. Why did you have Mr. Voth pull the numbers 1 day after the Terry murder for the number of guns recovered in Mexico and the United States? And did you know that Fast and Furious was about to come under massive scrutiny?
I did not know at that time that it was going to come under this level of scrutiny, no, sir.
What is the difference between, explain to me why you don't think the guns were walking. You obviously thought that others had that perception.
Mr. Chaffetz, could you summarize?
Oh, my apologies. I'm way over.